Well, welcome everyone to this really exciting session. I've been looking forward to doing this with you, Javier, for weeks now. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the word and the letters of the day, which is AI. And in this ever-changing world where we've got to marry up innovation with creativity, with human-led innovation, with nostalgia, which I know Coca-Cola is so excellent at. How do we do that when we know that there is this thing chasing us constantly in using new technology and figuring out how to do it at scale? So I have here a few questions that I was hoping to ask you. I know that for many of us in this room, AI in some way has already probably changed the way you work. At Microsoft, I can guarantee you that it's changed almost every aspect of the way that we've done business, the way that we're thinking about roles and operations. We even did a workplace index not too long ago where we led with a statistic around 80% of our jobs have evolved with AI at Microsoft. And mine in particular, just from using it on a daily basis, has accelerated the way that I work and the way that I think, the way that I'm creative, the way that I brainstorm. So I ask everyone in the room here that's watching as well to think about how those changes have impacted your organization as well. As we walk through some of the stories that Javier is about to tell us today. So Javier, when I had the opportunity to meet you virtually a week ago, I was trying to be really prepared about it. I mean, I'd used Copilot to get all of the notes about everything that you had done in your past, and all, I was feeling really, really prepared. And as one does when they feel really prepared, of course, my daughter runs in the second that we have our conversation with her tutus and her accessories, and you were so kind. But her in particular, I'm going to start off with my 6-year-old who engaged with your Santa that you did in the Create Real Magic campaign. I'm not sure how many of you actually saw this two-way conversation that you could have with the one and only Coca-Cola Santa, where my daughter absolutely lost her mind because she could have a real conversation with Santa. You're going to have to do it every single year because she's never going to understand if he doesn't come back. So my question to you is, how do you see, you're a new empty nester. You've seen a lot of generations who love Coca-Cola, a lot of generations that have grown up with technology. How are they interacting with brand differently? And how are you building out things that will eventually become nostalgia for them?
It's very interesting, and thank you for making reference to that program. And indeed was one of those things that we decided to take the risk and do it. And we do it working actually with Microsoft Azure, the platform, 60 days, and we created something that we put up in 45 markets, 25 languages.
Crazy.
We had not done that before, and there's always risk involved, but it's the type of risk that you want to take because you know that, one, you will create something that is different for consumers, and two, you will learn something in how you operate. And how consumers are going to engage with brands, I do believe that AI is going to create more opportunities for us to transform insights into excitement. And this is very important because when you think about analytics, yes, data is important, and having the data updated is important, and harnessing data to get insights is important. But data and analytics without the what if, without the spark of creativity, doesn't add value for people, for humans. And in the case of your daughter, what we did is take data, take Gen AI, but create in a way that sparks a moment of magic. And at the end of the day, that's the thing that will not change. We've been trying as marketers to do that for years.
Right.
And we will continue doing that for years. I think the tools and the platforms are evolving and are expanding our possibilities.
I mean, that's absolutely true. It was incredibly magical for her to be able to have a two-way conversation with Santa, but also for adults too. I mean, I love that marriage of innovation and AI and nostalgia that you seem to have perfected, especially through that one. And actually with the Beetlejuice campaign as well, where you've got nostalgia of people that are coming into the brand for the first time, but you're speaking to them through the lens of somebody who's never experienced it. And leveraging things like insights, yeah, that's great. We hear about insights consistently, customers coming to us and asking about how they can build out a better technological backbone so that they can access those insights. So When you're thinking about those insights, what's super important that you had to prioritize in your technological backbone in order to ensure that what you were delivering to the 6-year-old was going to be what you wanted to deliver?
Yeah, and let me maybe go one step back.
Yeah.
The way we are thinking marketing at Coca-Cola today, we like to say that it's an experience-based marketing model.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, it's not a digital first, it's an experience first. And digital is an enabler of that. And we really are trying to create an ecosystem of experiences that are connected from the products that we sell, but includes QR codes. And people can scan QR codes, and that will take you to a digital experience. And for example, we do many activations during summer with music festivals, and that digital experience can land you into a music festival. So we connect those experiences
and memory,
and in a way that create long-lasting memories. So when it comes to the insight, again, I don't really think that the insight is different. It's all about creating relevance and excitement for people. It's all about surprising people. What technology is allowing us is to do that in ways that we had not thought before, which is more automated, real-time, and large scale.
So when you're thinking about doing these never-before-done campaigns, how much are you experimenting prior to that so that you can ensure that what you want to scale is what ends up scaling? Or are you thinking of those campaigns as experimentation?
We take risk. We don't take risk when it comes to data privacy, consumer, brand safety. Of course, we don't.
Right.
But when it comes to, is this going to work or not, we take a lot of risk, and we try to be first movers, try to use technology in a way that had not been used before. And then I would even say that we could do a better job in scaling things later. One of the things I've been thinking is this technology solution we created for the Santa campaign in 2023. I've been thinking, could I use the same technology for new experiences down the road? And this is something we're not doing yet. So we come with new ideas and then develop new platforms. But I'm thinking more and more, how can I use platforms and just change the consumer-facing narrative, the consumer-facing experience, but still use the same technology? This is something I think we could do better.
Like a polar bear, for example?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, for the FIFA World Cup, right?
Right.
We could use, same tool, talk to a player.
Yeah.
Talk to other people, because we already created the technical solution for that. Yeah.
And when you were thinking of building that out, I mean, using AI, where did you start? What were the first things that you started testing with?
The way we're thinking AI today is 3 main priority areas. The first one is this: enrich, enhance, elevate the consumer experience. So the first thing we test is this really adding some value to people, this wow factor? Is this going to capture consumer attention? Are going to people talk about this? Are going to people share this with someone else, recommend this? So this idea of seducing consumers, that's use case number 1. And then, of course, there is a second use case, which is be more efficient in the way we produce things, capture efficiencies. And the third one is a little bit of minimize the workload in supporting functions, right? Make efficient your core operations, surprise consumers, minimize the effort in the supporting functions.
Was there anything that you were super proud of about that? I mean, when you think about efficiency, I think a lot of us in marketing are thinking about how to achieve more efficient and also effective types of content, for example. Yes. So are there any ones that you're proud of in thinking about using AI?
I am proud of the way we took these classic ads. It's a global, and certainly in UK, these holidays are coming. It's the ad that we run every year to start the holiday season. And it's a piece of communication that we had produced 25 years ago. And we said, okay, it's time to do a re-edition of this. Mm-hmm. And we used Gen AI for the first time to do consumer-facing content, and it was done 60 days at a very reasonable, very cost-efficient way. We had not done that before. Created a lot of discussion in the industry, I believe that a couple of years, very few years down the road, this is not going to be a discussion anymore. I mean, we will use Gen AI to make production more efficient, which doesn't mean that we don't need creators. We still need the human creativity. But the production part of the process, I can think can be really streamlined, more efficient, and I'm really proud that we started doing that already.
Yeah, allowing creators more time to be creative.
So true, and to understand humans and do strategy, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. And we are actually using technology in the same way, even on the marketing side at Microsoft, to look at what are the operational tasks that can be removed so that the people that we hired to be creative have that time to be more strategic. And especially if there's any creators that are in this room have been bogged down by all kinds of different challenges from legal, et cetera. And now we're seeing things like legal agents and task agents where you can actually leverage that to be able to put your content through and understand very quickly whether or not things need to change in terms of brand consistency, brand guidelines. And with a brand like Coke, I'm sure that that's unbelievably important. And you operate in so many different regions. So how are you thinking about brand guidelines and using things like agents, for example, to be able to remove some of those inefficiencies?
We're using that also, and I can give you a couple of examples. One of the fields where we're using agents today is to harness insights. So we are really creating data lakes with the structured data and the structured data, our data, public data, and creating agents to help us in a more intuitive way have conversations with consumers personas that help us understand things.
Like simulations?
Yes, we also include
okay.
Putting in front of those personas pieces of communication and see how they react and what comes back. So the whole notion of using agents to make the insight harnessing more intuitive conversation is one of the things. The other thing that we are using AI for is resource allocation. Same thing, we have created predictive models and then using agents to do in a conversation way that you can make resource allocation, marketing dollars allocation to maximize, and you can decide what you want to maximize. If you want to maximize transactions or revenue, gross profit, share, and we are using the predictive models, but on top of that, putting the layer of the agents. This is something that more and more, and recently we announced a partnership on the design front to put also an agent that helps our designers create branded content like point of sale materials, menu boards, track designs in a more intuitive way using design agents.
Wow. And are these agents able to interact with each other? Are they agentic or is there generative AI layered on top of the models to extract the insights?
Not yet, and I think that's next. We're still in experimentation and pilot mode as we speak, but down the road, I can imagine that the life of a brand manager is going to be completely different. And to your point, is less time and effort put in doing basic understanding work, and more, which is basically trying to understand the what and the why. The way I see this is the what and the why agents can help you. The what if, the ideation, the creation, the experimentation. That's where I want the people to spend time, effort, and put the human ingenuity. And that's what I keep telling is about AI and HI.
I love that, AI and HI. That's great. I might steal that from you.
Yes.
It's so interesting to hear you talk about this because as somebody who's grown up in marketing and had several different roles before AI came and made it easier for everybody, it's really exciting to think about not having to go through some of those steps. When I first was introduced to generative AI, and I was at Microsoft, obviously, so there were some big announcements that were made. What was really exciting to me was this idea of the power of the prompt. And so where we were coming in and talking about sourcing data, normalizing data, unifying data, the things that make insights happen and are still, the bedrock of what an AI strategy is. Now all of a sudden you have non-technical people who don't code every single day that can access the information and actually get stuff done. So when you're talking about predictive models, that's really exciting because we have been working as marketers on a reactive schedule for, since marketing, the dawn of marketing time. And now you're thinking, wow, we can actually build out predictive models using tons of different third-party insights, first-party insights that are connected, and then be able to even predict measurement. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. So we have predictive models and predictive analytics in place using multiple sources of data. And that includes not only the data of what we do, but also external data, weather conditions. As you know, we sell ice cold beverages. For me, a hot day is not a bad day. This is a perfect day.
I could use a very cold beverage.
So we put all that data into predictive models. But on top of that, we're doing some causal analytics, doing some experimentations with our partners. You can imagine with Meta, with Google, doing some experiments, control experiments, to generate new data that is going to make our predictive model more robust.
Right.
So we work on those two fronts, predictive, but also causal analytics and experiments.
I think that's where we're going to see a lot of transition in this next year, is moving out of that pilot mode and understanding where the scale is going to happen. And we're only going to do that if we can understand the measurement behind it, so that we can obviously say this is why this investment needs to take place.
Yes.
So that it's exciting to hear that you're working in that way. It sounds like there's with these agents that you have, one being in content and some being in media, that you're starting to connect these historically siloed two worlds as well.
Yes. Yeah, and this is interesting because when I think what we're trying to do is a lot of change in the how we do things. The why we do things is not changing that much. I mean, it's still about understanding consumers, understanding needs, expectations, unmet needs, unmet expectations, try to come up with solutions that are better than competitors and put that in front of them. The why we do things is not being disrupted by AI. The how we do things and how fast we can do that and how fast we can scale that is what is really changing dramatically. But it's very important to differentiate those two things, because sometimes I go into discussions, team members, colleagues, that confuse technology with strategy.
Interesting.
And I say, listen, the technology is an enabler and can shape your strategy, but you need to have a strategy first.
Right. You need to understand your audience and really deeply empathize with who it is that you're trying to reach. So when you're doing these simulations of customers, are you creating thousands upon thousands of different profiles and then automating how you're able to communicate with those profiles to determine the right message at the right time? How does that work?
The way we're doing that is using behavior segmentation. And by behavior, I mean understanding who are the heavy users versus light users versus neutral versus rejectors of my brands. So we profile who are the type of consumers that say, I will never drink a Coke. Mm-hmm. I don't speak to them. And then who are the people that say, yeah, I've tried Coke. I like it, but it's not part of my habitual repertoire. Well, that's the type of people and personas I want to talk to. So we really flip the segmentation to start with beverage-related behavior and then profiling, instead of saying, I'm going to talk to a Gen Z consumer. So still important to understand the profile, the psychographic, but the behavior is the first cut that we're using now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think there's this important distinction you're making where there's math and there's magic. And there's the magic behind the math and the math behind the magic, I think. But it's that harmony between those two where you're able to take an experiment and then allow it to scale globally in 26 languages, was it?
It was 25 languages, 45 countries, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's probably a localization AI component to that as well.
It was, yeah. We use local data to create the solution, yes. Yeah. But then again, for me, if you ask me, okay, what's next on that one is, next Christmas, I don't want to create from scratch a solution. Mm-hmm. I would like to recycle the technical stack that was behind that and just change the consumer-facing idea. I think that should be the ultimate objective, which is make innovation scalable and profitable.
Right. Well, you can't get rid of Santa.
No.
There's a very important little girl in Seattle who would be devastated.
Yeah.
But I do see, I mean, you've learned so much just from building out the technical backbone that's needed to get a campaign launched in 60 days. Are you able to take the learnings from that throughout the year then?
Yes.
And what learning do you think has been most prevalent for you?
Yeah, from a process perspective, is the sooner you bring all the partners to the table, the better, and that includes your creative partner, WPP, and also these pretty much startups working on Gen AI.
So like an AI hub, essentially, with your technical partners, your agencies, I assume, and then any insights partners, part of your marketing.
And make sure to bring your legal department because of data privacy and brand safety. That's number one. The second thing is you need to be willing to invest in scaling the reach of that. So we know this already. It's not such thing as organic reach, especially not when you are a Coca-Cola brand. There's nothing for free for us.
Right.
So we need to plan not only the budget to develop, but also put budget to amplify and make sure that the solution reaches people. And this was important for us because sometimes what happens is you spend all the money developing the solution, and then say, okay, I'm going to put out there and let's see how many consumers pick it up. It's not fair. You need to also to put some additional money to escalate, and that's what we did in this case. Yeah.
Well, given that there's that history and prioritization of experimentation, which is really baked into every marketer that has ever marketed, I'm curious to know how you're thinking about experimentation from a cultural perspective. There's all different kinds of cultures out there in the workplace. Some you feel really empowered to make mistakes, and some, obviously, you feel like that might be career limiting. So has there had to be a conversation where you've said, it's okay, we're going to make mistakes? And, there's a lot that we all need to learn around this new technology. How is your employees feeling about making those mistakes when we know we're all working in uncharted territory?
It's very important that you are explicit about that. And just, real-time example, I was last week with my team in UK, working on the marketing campaign for the English Premier League sponsorship. We just announced a couple of weeks ago that we have become the official sponsor of the English Premier League.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And the team's working on the plan. And we touched this point about, we will do this, but there is risk. And my conversation with the team is, if there is legal risk, then it's a no.
Mm-hmm.
If the risk you are telling to me is legal, the answer is no, we will not do it. If it is a corporate reputation risk, okay, go ahead, let's be prepared to manage the conversation if this comes up as a reputation problem. But let's go ahead. If this is a commercial risk in the sense that we do this, doesn't work, totally fine. Totally fine. Go ahead. No problem.
Break stuff.
So you need to be super explicit about and give permission to, let's go into this. But then it's important to classify risk, right? When we talk risk, what are we talking about?
That's a good question. So when we're thinking about, even taking it down a notch and thinking about how to build these agents. And there's iterations and having to make these models more and more intelligent in order to have that intelligence on tap through generative AI. And so all of those things are going to take iteration upon iteration, learning and capturing those learnings through like an AI center of excellence, for example, where everybody can learn from the mistakes that were made.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing from a lot of different brands about what that AI center of excellence means. And it goes across, it's a great question because it goes across so many different steps in that process. But just having to create a culture around failing is okay. And it's actually, thank you for failing and please record it so that we don't make that mistake again.
Yeah, or in this third type of risk, which is the commercial risk, accept that failure is part of the learning.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I'm doing as we speak is I'm taking philosophy classes, and the philosopher that is helping me with that.
Part of the Empty Nester program, I take it?
It's part of the all time
nice.
I have free back to me. But what he told me is sometimes we humans forget that you cannot do something well before you do it wrong. It's part of the learning process. How many times you fall on the floor when you were trying to walk as a baby?
Many.
There's no way you one day stand up and walk for the rest of your life without falling. So accept that failing is part of the process of learning. Now, to my previous point, let's define risk, because if failing is going to create a legal problem, I don't want to fail. If it is going to create a reputation problem, I need to be prepared.
Right.
If it is a commercial problem, don't worry, move.
Move quickly.
Yes.
I mean, I just think in general that understanding of it's okay has been a part of the whole dialogue when it comes to AI. And this general understanding that we all are in this boat together has been a very unifying experience. Even when in the Quaset here, I think I'm day one hearing we're all in this boat together, right? Everyone's trying to figure this out.
Yes.
From the transformation of an organization, for example, all the way to the operations, where the efficiencies exist, what KPIs we can start assigning so that we can start scaling. All of those things require steps forward and step backwards. So I just really want to thank you for coming to the table and being able to have a transparent conversation about what you've seen when it comes to trying out these new technologies. And it sounds like Coca-Cola is pretty mature in terms of what I'm seeing across brands with AI and trying out these reasoning agents, task agents, eventually agentic.
Yes. We are trying, and maybe one idea just to say goodbye to all of you is, if you think transformation as a one-time process that has a start and an end, you're going to be frustrated. You know, the reality of what we're going through is that transformation and digital transformation is a never-ending process. Technology will continue to evolve, which means we will need to continue to adapt and adjust. I remember the first meeting this year with my team in Europe, coming back from vacation in Spain. I was in a town hall, and they asked me an open question, which is, hey, are you thinking about changing the structure, the organization, evolving the team? And I said, yes, every day. Every day I wake up thinking, what's next? How do I adjust the team? How do I redeploy resources? Transformation is more a mindset, never-ending process from now on.
Those are very, very wise words and a wonderful place to end our session. So again, I just want to thank you so much for the time, for the transparency and honesty. And I cannot wait to see what's coming next Christmas.
Christmas, I know.
I know.
Stay tuned.
Absolutely. I will be staying tuned. So thank you,
so much,
everybody.
Michele.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.